Ladies and gentlemen, James.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Don't you forget
his glory.
Beggars and thieves, Jordy. Anyway, oh, hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Poets Garden Podcast. I am James.
Still Jordy here.
That is right. We still are the people we say we are. That's rare these days, you know? It is, actually.
You never know with AI.
Let's keep on being ourselves, Jordy. Like, right. You keep being Jordy, I'll keep being James.
It's going to be hard not to. So
yeah. Maybe...
no, I'd like to be somebody else a lot of the time.
I sometimes forget just at how nice weather can bring my mood up. You know what I mean? Because we go through the winter time, and we had some rain and some coldness happening, but it is rather beautiful. The flowers are growing. The
Much
bird
to
bath.
my chagrin, allergies, y'all.
Did you notice that?
Don't get them.
Did you notice I got a new pump for the bird bath out there, Jordy?
No, I didn't.
Thought you'd be rather excited about that. No?
Oh, right, because I have a bird bath.
Little wink there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so today we had Matt Kennedy here. He is from the band Headlong Hearts. He's a great guy, man. Great guy, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some good conversation.
Yeah.
We got to meet his mother, who actually came for the session as well, which was really cool. So kept us on our best behavior, which is always good for me, right, Jordy?
Yeah, well, yeah.
You're pretty much always on your best behavior, right?
I was sitting on my hands.
Yeah. Yeah, so it ended up being a great session. Matt stuck around and played one of his original songs for us at the end, so make sure you check that out. Give Matt Kennedy a follow. Also, the Headlong Hearts. They got a couple CDs for purchase as well. He's just a good all-around guy, eh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good old Canadian boy.
Yes, very patriotic, which is something that apparently is going around these days, eh?
Yeah.
He's got some pretty cool Canadian tunes, man. Well, they're all Canadian tunes, obviously, but Canadian Shield and the song Canada, too. Yeah. Kind of good timing of how it came out right about now, so.
I like how he I think it's called euphemisms.
The euphemisms, yeah.
I think that's what it's called. Or metaphors.
It could be, I don't know.
He uses a lot of metaphors and stuff. It's kind of cool.
Like,
we had trouble with that song, reeling it in or landing it.
I don't know this for sure, but I imagine Matt's probably a bit of a fisherman. What do you think?
Yeah. He did say he grew up on boats and stuff, so.
Yeah, but I think it's more the whole, reeler in, fish on the line.
Yeah.
There was quite a lot of...
There's a lot of fishing euphemisms.
Euphemisms, eh? Yeah? Is that what it is?
It is. Euphemism.
Euphemism?
Newfoundlandism.
Newfoundland is... No.
That's the...
Yeah, something like that, or metaphor. Either one. Yeah, you already said euphemism. Well, I can't even pronounce it.
Euphemism.
Euphemism? I thought it was euphemism. Euphemism.
No.
Euphemism?
Mism.
You know what? I guess we're all
from a band.
Yeah. You know what, Jordy? Yeah, we're all fishermen in a way, hey?
I guess.
Yeah. Because Matt, he was one of the first guys that we saw playing live that we thought we should invite out, right?
That's true.
So we actually had that fish on the line, and we kind of reeled him in, eh?
But yeah, you're right. We are kind of...
We fished him in for this episode.
You were a fisher of man, James.
Oh no, we're getting...
Shit.
My brain just exploded.
Yeah, I know.
Fucking... Okay, that's it. Everybody check out Matt Kennedy on the Poets Garden Podcast right now. Okay, so, hey, we're back at the Poets Garden Podcast. Today we have Mr. Matt Kennedy here from the band Headlong Hearts, also 5 on a String.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All true.
How you doing, Matt?
Doing great today. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
The first time I saw you was at the Bez.
Oh, yeah, the Bez Arts Hub,
Me as well.
We played very shittily. We played because we hadn't played in like a year or something. And then we tried to play, but I saw you
we
play.
just suck normally, too. So, yeah.
Well,
you were wearing a black toque kind of on the top of your head.
Right.
To the side.
In the winter.
Yeah, it was the winter. It was before Christmas.
Definitely. Oh, yeah,
It was like November.
Right, yeah.
Do you remember what songs you played? Because I
No.
remember you played one acoustic song that was dope. It was
really? Yeah, I don't know what that would have been. I often use the Bez Arts Hub there, which is this venue in Langley, of course, and I part of my songwriting process is to bring new material that I'm working on to that place on the Thursday night thing, and I find
it was an instrumental piece.
Was it? Okay.
The first thing.
There's an old like Guy Clark, who was a very famous Texan songwriter, dead now. There's a quote around from him that says where he said that songs aren't songs until you play them for somebody else.
Yeah,
so you can play them at home all you want, but they're not really a song until you try it out. You take it out on the road, sort of like a road test, and so that. I just like that open stage because it's a kind of a warm community. There's lots of regulars there. There are a bunch of songwriters that hang around there.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, well, that's a good place to take music that's just like literally brand new. And I'm sometimes afraid of my bandmates because they're intensely musical. And I often, if there's something I'm working on that I'm not too sure about, sometimes I would rather try it out on the Thursday night open stage at the Bez Arts Hub.
Right.
Then I would try it out on my own bandmates kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because if there's edits and changes and things that I myself could make to make the song better, I generally want to do it before I spring it on them. Right.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
So that's so it's kind of part of my process to try to take it out on the road. And of course, it's a common thought where people think, well, songs should stand on their own, right? They should stand on their own with just a voice and a guitar. I think at least that's my simple reptilian brain approach to the whole thing. So
I totally second that. Do you find too, like, say you play the songs brand new at the Bez, do you find like if it's received well, that'll also kind of help give you, some like backing in your corner for when you go present it to the band? Like if they're like, no, I don't like it. It's like, well, the Bez did.
I can be a bit wary about that too, because sometimes when songs are brand new, I find they're very fragile because you are often not that confident in them yet either.
Right.
And I find it's a bit of a dangerous time for a little baby song at that moment, because if you play it for the first person you play it for, if they kind of go, wow, it's great, then sometimes it makes you follow the lead because you think, oh, maybe it is great. But if the first person you play it for goes, I don't really like it, then you kind of go, yeah, maybe you're right, and you put it back in the jar. And I've found that the first few bits of response you get to a brand new song can be a bit dangerous because you can lose confidence in your own stuff. Right? And it may be terrific. It's just that the first two people you played it for, they didn't care for it, and it doesn't mean that the third might think it's terrific or something. And of course, it's all very subjective. Like, who knows?
Oh, totally.
Right?
Yeah.
Who really knows? And
do you have like one specific person that you're always like, okay, they're actually on point with what their feedback they're giving you?
I do. Some of my closest bandmates are like that, where I would play it for them, and I would say, do you think this is something? Like, do I have a fish on the line here? And if the song is sort of like a 1-4-5 song with no movement in it and the melody is weak, they're going to tell me that immediately, pretty much, right? And sometimes I try to get a simple song like that through them.
Yeah.
Particularly if the lyrics are really terrific. Like sometimes if the lyrics are terrific, you can forgive a song that's maybe musically simple. And then sometimes it can be the other way around. If the melody is gorgeous, there might be a weak lyric or two that will pass you by, right? They'll let through, right? But I do have a bit of a sounding board thing. I guess it's kind of stepwise a bit. It's like, you sort of widen the circle a bit around the little songs. And I too, sometimes I abandon things too. Sometimes I keep them on the burner for a year or something. And it's all very mysterious, to be honest.
Yeah, no, for sure, right?
Canadian mystery.
You're like, you're like self-producing with all this, third-party influence as well, too, right? Because everyone's a producer in their own sense, too, right?
I guess so, yeah. Like I'm interested in songs in their simplest form, really, and I'm interested in kind of the mystery around song craft, I suppose. And and I would do it even if I didn't have stage chops or couldn't play or sing. Probably. I mean, I think I would. I like it kind of for the academic nature of trying to figure out, well, why does this song work and this song doesn't work? And the idea of trying to convey meaning in a song and use a melody to catch the listener's ear.
So how did that go on the train thing? Like, what did you do? Like,
sure. Well, I don't want to change the subject.
I'm sorry. I changed the subject.
No, we're fine. This is the Postcard Podcast. We don't have any rules here.
You just told me to shut up.
No.
Sure.
Because I want. That's very cool. Before we went on air, sorry, Matt was telling us this story about Via Rail.
Exactly.
So here we go. Yeah.
In 1955, they came up with a train that was called the Canadian, and the Canadian runs now. It's been running since '55, but it runs 2 trains a week from Vancouver to Toronto, 2 trains a week from Toronto to Vancouver.
Yeah,
and sometime at least 20 odd years ago, I know this because I've had friends that did it that long ago, but they started this program called the Artist on Board, and you apply for it through VIA's website, and then you have to be Canadian. That's one of the criteria. And they kind of want a person, I guess, who theoretically is an artist. So they want kind of working songwriters and people that are creators, I suppose. Yeah, and they want you to play a mix of original music and cover music, preferably Canadian.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and people travel. My sister asked me, she said, what kind of people are even on the train? And I said, well, it's all sorts of people. People that love trains, people that have the time and resources to travel by train and go all the way from Toronto to Vancouver. So it's 5 days, 4 nights, it's 4,466 kilometers or something.
Yeah.
And I played 3 45-minute sets a day for 5 days on the train. Something like 180 songs over 5 days. So it's a real workout. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a real workout. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But I tried to plan ahead a little bit because I didn't want to get stumped. Like I've played enough gigs in my life that you need to have a set list and have a bit of a plan before you get on stage. And I thought, okay, well, I'll have I try to sort of have regional music, so like West Coast and Mountain, couple of sets for that, and then kind of prairie stuff. I sang Whoopie-Tie-I-O and Don't Fence Me In on the prairies, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then as you get further into the Ontario, like the forest and Canadian Shield and the Lake Country and all that, then there's regional music for that. Because this country, of course, there's quite a bit of regional music in Canada, right? So I thought,
are you from around here? Or?
Well, I was born in Toronto. I grew up in Calgary, but I've been on the West Coast now for 22 years, my wife and I,
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. So
I interjected yet again.
That's
for
fine.
no good reason.
No problem at all.
That's part of having a podcast, Jordy. That's what we do.
That's right,
here.
Jordy.
Why am I here? Okay.
No, that's so cool. I'm just imagining you on the train because it was in the wintertime too, right? So you're driving.
Yeah, it was in February.
Yeah, so like the views just must be spectacular.
Yeah, and like very stark and majestic, driving like riding along on the train kind of thing. And the train course goes different routes, doesn't follow the Trans-Canada Highway.
Right.
Train has its own track, of course, so it goes where
Through
it goes.
The Rockies and everything.
Yeah, it was interesting. And freight trains have right away, so there's some waiting around. There's some sitting on a siding waiting for a freight train to come the other direction and that sort of thing. And on there, it was kind of fun because I basically built a fan base on the train.
Yeah.
And by the end, like I'd get to the car where I was playing my little set, and there'd be 15 people sitting there waiting.
Yeah. Wow.
Sweet.
Yeah, which was kind of
cool.
fun.
So cool. Yeah.
It was great.
What an experience. Oh, Jordy, actually, you had something.
I was just going to say, when Canada takes over the world, you'll all be sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
That was a Canada joke.
Nice fake laugh, James.
It's a pretty amazing. It's an amazing country, actually.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a terrific thing, and it was actually kind of an honor to sort of sing my way across it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was going to say that too. Obviously, there's a lot of Canadian patriotism in your music. Obviously, with the song "Canada." On your latest album.
That's an interesting tune. Yeah, we've that tune was not. I didn't write that either. A third fella wrote that. Mark Hanning, who plays bass in the band. Mark has had that song around for, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years. I've heard it for quite some time. Yeah, and he had the chorus for a while, and then again when we were gathering songs around this time last year, because this new record we started kind of pre-production in February, and then we recorded the bed tracks of it last April. The new record, Creatures of Habit, and then through the summer we did mostly all the singing through the summer, and then finished it in kind of like in October. And Canada had been around for a while. Mark brought that in, and I actually remember, I don't know, now I'm telling the public about it, but I remember thinking, it's a bit on the nose, singing a song where the chorus is the name of our country.
Right.
I thought, I don't know, but I mean, at the time, and I thought, well, whatever, this is a democracy, and we can all, bring songs in as whatever we want. And then Brad Gillard in the band, he mostly plays banjo and mandolin. He's just a gorgeous instrument player and singer too. And he wrote electric guitar is like his fifth instrument, but Brad got out the electric guitar and wrote kind of the most unbelievable guitar riff for it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
when we heard that, we all thought, oh, good Lord, like now we really got a fish on the line. And we recorded it. There was great lyrics written last summer with some help from a friend of ours who's not in the band, a guy named Chris Barrett, who lives here in town. And the two of them got together and wrote all these lyrics about Hawkins cheesies, and they wrote a verse in French and stuff. And I have a friend in Montreal who checked the language and the grammar in French to make sure it was all right.
Sweet. Yeah.
And then, but it's odd because now, like with the changes in the United States and the kind of a real rise of unbridled patriotism in our country, all of a sudden somebody came up and said, "How did you know about this song?" And I said, "Well, we were working on it last February, long before this happened." But
Good timing on that.
a bit of that, yeah.
I was actually wondering that too, because I think I discovered it right around the time that everything started going south.
If they can get away with "Born in the USA," it's
yeah,
like-
it does have a kind of a real anthem type thing, and they've
totally.
been playing it on the CBC a little bit, which has been
sweet.
kind of a shot in the arm for us. Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah,
That's cool, man. Very
Yeah, it's
cool.
been fun to hear. We always kind of wanted to be played on the CBC. I mean, we don't write commercial music, and I'm not trying to get famous or get it on the radio or whatever, but still when it happens, it's kind of a lark for sure.
Oh, totally. Oh,
Yeah.
totally.
I really like that "Below the Ridge" song.
Thanks for saying that. Yeah, that
Did
is
you
an
write that
interesting tune. I wrote that.
Yeah.
I did.
I like
write
how
that
it's
tune.
just you singing. No
Yeah.
offense to any of the harmonies.
For
or
sure.
anything. It's just it makes it. I love the droning kind of banjo
Yeah.
that just keeps going. And
Thank
keeps
you very
going,
much.
and It's a cool.
Yeah,
It's a cool.
Great
tune,
of you to
man.
single that out. That tune was it's a real composition actually, and I think on our 2022 record, that one we like it the most. I think we think it was one that was kind of the most successful, I suppose. Yeah, and it was a step out for me because it's written in a real minor chord with kind of an unusual progression, and then it has but it's a sad tune. It's a sad tune about loss, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, it's a tough tune. I was, it's kind of about dependency and alcoholism in a way. Yeah, but which is not something that I've ever struggled with, mercifully, but certainly I've had friends that have. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I sure have.
I always seem to identify more with those songs too, right? Like, so to me, when I hear songs like that, I don't think of them as sad. It's actually like encouraging, because then it's like, oh, another person has gone through the same thing.
That's
That's how
right.
I kind of saw it.
and-
one of my like elders, like an aunt or uncle, had their best friend pass away.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
which they had been friends with since they were in their 20s, kind of thing. And I just saw that happen, and I thought, well, that's the tune's called "Lost Without You," and I just sort of started into the idea about that because this family member of mine said, I'm not really prepared to be on the earth without this best friend of mine, and I thought, wow, that's a pretty heavy thing to say, right? And I thought, well, there's got to be a song in there. So I think songwriting and music making, you're fooling around with the cosmos in a way. You're fooling around with forces that are beyond our sort of flesh and blood and stuff, trying to organize notes and tones together and carry a melody and convey a meaning and stuff. And it's magic stuff.
Oh, totally.
You're fooling around with magic. And I feel deeply blessed and honored to have some ability to tangle with this stuff, and it pursues me more. Music has been interesting for me because the more I do it, I seem to get better at it, and I find that I feel so fortunate for that, because I know a lot of people that fool around with music and they don't really advance very much, and I don't know why I'm like that. I really don't, but I sure am grateful for it. Cool. Yeah, it's really
That's
something.
probably a huge part of it, is you're actually grateful for it.
I am.
You're not taking it for granted.
It drives me forward. And another thing, too, is important to say is I'm a late bloomer. Like, I did not take music lessons as a kid.
Yeah.
I uncovered my musical ability kind of in my 30s, my early 30s, maybe.
Yeah.
And one of my bandmates says, the great thing about you, I've been writing songs like for maybe 8 years or something like that, 8 or 9 years. And one of my bandmates says, the great thing about you is you're still working on your first batch of ideas.
Cool. Yeah.
Right? And he said, he's been writing songs his whole life, but he said, I wrote my first batch of ideas when I was 20.
Right.
You know, and so he said, it's really fun being around you as you write. You know, he said, I already wrote a song about my grandmother 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? But you're writing your first songs about your grandmother, which is Very cool.
Yeah.
As a songwriter, I think I probably had song ideas my whole life, but I didn't really recognize them, and I didn't really let them come through.
Right.
And because now I realize, like, there's a song on the new record called "Out of My Mind," and the chorus is, maybe I couldn't catch up with you, or maybe you just left me behind. Right, and it's about a kind of a summer fling type thing.
Right,
and I had that walking in my neighborhood where I thought, oh, that's a good combination of lines. Like, it's a story about a romantic encounter where the other partner, not the narrator, but the other person is just like way out of your league. You know, like off to be a brain surgeon or to work at the United Nations or whatever, and you have this 4-month romance in the summer, right? And I thought, it was destined for disaster, exactly. But I had this idea walking around in the neighborhood. I thought, oh, maybe I couldn't catch up to you, but maybe you just left me behind, right?
Yeah,
and I got that walking in the neighborhood or whatever, and I thought, oh, that's a good turn of phrase. And I think I wrote it in my phone and came home and then started working on the song. But I probably had those kinds of ideas all my life. It's just I didn't recognize them as song starts. I just never recognized what was coming through.
50% of Canada is A. The letter A. Just saying.
Oh my goodness!
True, yeah.
I don't know why that.
Well, you're full of these things, you got all these.
I looked it up before. I'm not
Very
gonna
witty
lie.
chat.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's pretty good.
You guys want to take a short little break here? Okay,
okay.
cool.
Sorry.
We'll
By
be
all
right
means, yeah.
back after this message from our fake sponsor.
Okay, we're outside the Penny coffee shop here in downtown Mission, First Ave. We're going to film a little ad for them today for the podcast. They have no idea. This is going to be great. How do I look? Let's do this. It's the Penny. How sick this place is, man. They got merch, too. This would be a perfect gift for a loved one, eh? I guess we should stand in line and say it. What, you want to try one?
Yeah.
Are you buying them? Because I don't have much money.
Oh, go ahead.
Hey, how's it going? Pretty good. This is a cool place.
Oh, thanks.
It's my first time in here.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Yeah.
There's so many kind of cool things to look at down here.
There is, right? You guys have a really good gluten-free brownie that I've heard too.
Yes, it is very good. Would you like one of those?
If you have, can we get 2 of those? Yeah, I heard about you guys on the Poets Garden podcast. Have you heard of that?
No, I have not.
That's like a local podcast, I think, from Mission.
Oh,
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I'm sure our bosses have probably heard of it. Yeah, I don't really listen to podcasts, but
I just gotta join Lois there. Thank you so much.
no problem. Have a good day.
Yeah, see you guys. Okay, let's go. We got it, man.
That was close.
Dude, we got it, man. That was intense. I think they're gonna call the police now. Let's go.
Yeah, but are you gonna? Okay, I'll read it. Yeah, what's the name of this one again? What we called?
What We Call Forever is the first one from 2022, and then the second one is Creatures of Habit from last week.
Creatures of
2025.
Habit, brand new release.
Yeah.
Everybody go buy it. Where do you pick this up, Matt?
Actually, good question. I think you have to get it from us, or
Yeah.
you can get it through Bandcamp.
Bandcamp, right? Yeah.
We're fans of Bandcamp.
Yeah, that's a great site. I think I still have my account there. Yeah, Jordy, I think you're good. Thanks. Sorry. Very cool. Yeah, with the new album, so like I noticed like Canadian Shield is on there.
It is.
Yeah, so like this album, so you guys have been basically working on this album for the last couple of years, eh?
Yeah, I guess so. Well, Canadian Shield came out in, no, I don't really know. I guess we brought that out in 2023, I guess.
Yeah.
We must have. That's when we recorded it and then released it as a single back then, just because part of it is to keep people interested in a way, and sort of show that that we're an existing artistic entity that produces things all the time, which is of course true. But if you don't release anything, then the wires kind of go cold for a while. So we had that song, we really liked it. We knew it was a real winner. It was Hugh Ellenwood, plays violin in the band. He wrote that, or came up with it, I guess, and then we wrote it kind of during the pandemic. Because I remember we played a tiny little show during the pandemic, like in a little tiny theater off of Commercial Drive in Vancouver, and people reacted immediately to the song, like
Cool.
almost sort of stunningly, and there were 20 people there, and we thought, wow, there's a real fish on the line with this thing about Canadian Shield, which is essentially about a couple that has a fight on a car trip, but it name checks Saskatoon and Toronto and things in it, and people love it. We played it as an encore on Saturday night.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And people won't leave without hearing it. So
Sweet.
it's been a very successful tune, Canadian Shield. It's been fun. So anyway, when the record came out, of course we had Canadian Shield from a couple of years back, but it had never been on a record. So we
Right, yeah.
so there are tunes in there that were written in very early 2024, and then there were tunes that were written in 2021 kind of thing. And
Yeah.
so what we try to do is we just sort of say, okay, it's time to make a record, and these are the 11 or 12 songs or whatever that have kind of made the cut or whatever, I guess. And we just sort of sweep them all onto the record.
Sweet.
Yeah, and then kind of start again. I'm working on some new things that will end up on the next record for sure, because
Cool.
the drawbridge kind of came down last February on this record.
Yeah.
Because that's when we started to really work on it. We were working on it for the first time. Actually, this second record, we had a producer, and I'd never done that before, really, or had anybody that showed any interest in us whatsoever. But a woman that I know who has very, very deep experience working as a songwriter and performer, mostly in the United States. She lives in Canada now, a woman named Deborah Holland. And Deborah, I know kind of from the songwriting scene. She's been a mentor of mine, and she came to me one day and she said, I want to be involved in this new record. In any capacity, you'll have me. And I thought,
cool.
okay, wow, great. And I told the fellas, and they all said, wait, what?
Yeah.
And Deborah, among many other accomplishments, was in a band with the drummer from the Police, Stuart Copeland, right after the Police ended in the mid '80s, and
Oh, wow.
that was a very important band called Animal Logic, and they traveled and toured, and she was the singer and principal songwriter in that trio.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's been really rewarding. So when we started to work on the songs last February for this record, Creatures of Habit, that's now out. She came into the mix really and started to say, okay, this song's great, but it needs this. And inevitably you end up with little tangles with her because of the creative process. Nothing negative, but kind of saying, well, it needs a bridge. I don't think it does, or maybe it should be in this key. I don't know about that. Oh, it's too fast. No, it's too slow.
Right.
Or the third verse, like the chorus is great, but the third verse, like, change it. Right.
Yeah.
And so that production process is quite a lot of fun, but the record that comes out the end of that can be quite different than what it was at the pre-pro stage kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
Again, like eventually the songs are not really mine anymore, and they're out in the world, and I tend not to sort of say, well, in my head I had exactly this type of orchestration for it. I trust the people I play with implicitly, so I tend to sort of say, well, I don't know. I mean, here's something. Let's like carry the bag and see where we go with it, right?
Yeah. No, exactly. So
Totally.
with the latest single that's on there, that's the Golden
One
Day?
Golden Day, yeah.
No, sorry, One Golden Day.
Yeah.
So that was one that this Donna.
Deborah, yeah.
Sorry,
We
Deborah
wrote
produced?
One Golden Day came out of a songwriter get-together during the pandemic on Zoom. Just a dreadful, just such a, like 1% as good as an actual get-together with a bunch of songwriters in a house kind of thing, where it's very common for, as you may know, songwriters just to kind of get together, 5 of you, and say, well, this is what I'm working on, and then the next person plays it, and then you kind of give people feedback and say, oh, okay, cool, yeah, I didn't understand the second verse, like, at all, and then again, it's part of that road testing new material thing, and at the end of this kind of wimpy, forlorn, sad Zoom call with a few of my songwriting friends, somebody said, well, someday we'll be back together again. And I think I said that will be one golden day when we're back together again.
Yeah.
And that would have been in 2020 probably. And I wrote that down on a piece of paper and I stuck it on my computer monitor.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we started working on that. And Deborah and I wrote that tune together. In the end, we got together and she said, well, what about one golden day? Let's work on that. And that was a hard fish to get in the boat. I think initially it had kind of a sort of a southwestern desert epic Mexi vibe to it kind of thing.
Okay.
And then I had a completely different song with that title at one point. Yeah. And then it didn't survive, whatever. And so again, that's one of those things that's out in the world and it's fragile at the start. You never know where it's going to end up going, but I'm proud of it. I'm happy with that tune.
It's a great track, and I gotta say too, because that's where you just busted out on the mandolin, right?
Yeah, that's a mandolin solo.
Did I? I think the mandolin solo on there is not me.
Oh, it's not?
probably Brad Gillard.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so Brad Gillard, who's in the
props
Headlong
to Brad
Hearts, is
Gillard.
also a killer mandolin player.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
I mean, he's better than me, debatably. We played differently, but Brad is extremely competent.
Yeah.
We both play mandolin in the band live.
Oh, okay.
A little bit. I play, like maybe there's 2 or 3 songs in the rep that I play mandolin on, and Brad will play it all night.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Brad,
yeah,
Brad Gillard, I mean, needs to be said, is like just an outstanding instrument player.
Yeah, yeah.
He is an unusual player too. Brad Gillard played drums as a kid, played cello all through high school.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Plays, everybody plays a little bit of guitar or whatever. Brad is an outstanding 5-string banjo player. Like
Cool.
among the best I've ever been around. He's a super mando player, very fine guitar player, and a great singer too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and a dear brother, of course, and we've played all along. So,
Very cool.
yeah, I think he would have played the mando part on that. I think there's one tune on the record where Brad was so busy with his day job that I played the mando part.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah, yeah.
and actually he plays electric guitar on that song. It's called "In This Town." Live, he always plays electric guitar,
Okay,
but on the
yeah.
record, the guy playing the mandolin is me. And I always
Ah.
feel I listen to that and I think that's me actually. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
actually said to him once, "See, I'm a good mandolin player too." And he kind of looked at me and he said, "Yeah, sure, good enough, I
Yeah,
guess."
then he's
You
like,
believe
look what
what
I
you
can
want.
do.
Good enough to get through, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's cool.
I was gonna say I love your not vernacular, but catch one, reel it in.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
like,
the,
hey, this
yeah.
one's hard to
Fishing
land.
it out.
Like,
Try to
this
get a
is-
fish in the
I'm
boat,
digging
yeah.
the fishing quotes, man. That's
yeah,
really
it's
cool.
true. I find it's like I think it's on the new record too. I'm beating the horse a little bit, but the Lost Without You, that tune was a very hard fish to get in the boat. I had for at least a year, I had the chords to the verse. Yeah, and they're a little bit unusual and a bit of an unusual progression. And I had played them for Mark Henning in the band, who I deeply trust and has remarkable musical instincts. And he said, it caught his ear, and he said, "Oh, huh, that's a kind of an interesting chord progression, you know." And then when I wrote a melody for it, a vocal melody that went with it. Then there's a bridge in there, and I had that bridge right at the start, I think. I'll carry on for you because you told me to. It's kind of the song's about loss, but I could not get the chorus. I could not get a chorus, and I was playing the chorus words and lyrics over the verse chords kind of thing, and it was nice and all that's fine, but the song would not lift. We could not get the song to lift. We could not get the chorus to lift.
Right. Yeah.
And one day in February in pre-production, actually everybody had left for a coffee break, and we sat there with the piano, Mark Henning, myself, and Deborah Holland, our producer, and we sat there working away on that thing, and then all of a sudden a minor chord in the verse became a major chord in the chorus, and the chorus started. We walked away from it, and I said, "I think maybe it's lifting too much. Like now the chorus is lifting too much. It's almost heraldic in the way it went." And that was an interesting thing because I had the verse and I had the bridge, but I just couldn't figure out what to do with it. I really couldn't. And it was them. It was them that helped me write that part. And
Cool. Yeah.
and then I think, and actually on Saturday night after the show on Saturday night when we just had our record release party, Deborah came up to me and she said, when you sang that thing, all she had was flashbacks of how hard she pushed me to try to get that thing, to get that fish in the boat, Jordy. Like you said.
Yeah.
That's dope, man.
Yeah,
I
and it
love
was
that.
a very hard thing. And now, I mean, it's again, I kind of stand back and think, wow, that's an amazing song. That's an amazing tune.
Yeah.
But I could not figure it out on my own. And this is, I guess, a comment about collaboration,
Yeah.
right? Where I just find I can only get the song so far, right? And so I've used the example of like, in high school track and field when they run the 4x100 relay, that. What is that called? Like that race or that
the baton, like the relay.
yeah, when you pass the baton to your four, there's 4 of you, right? And I always, sometimes I think that I kind of run the first leg. I run the first leg, and then I hand the baton off, and I kind of go, and I'm usually so exhausted and fried with the song, I just pass the baton and gasp like, I don't know what, just where does it
Do
go
a
now?
couple somersaults on the track.
Totally, yeah, precisely, and lie on the ground gasping, and I'm I can be kind of artistically out of gas at that point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I find pulling the lyrics and the melody together and trying to write like, you know, the verse being the A and the chorus being the B and then maybe a C part bridge or something. By the time I got that done, I can't really see the forest anymore. I'm so in the trees, right? And so I find I need help at that point. I really
Another
need
good
help.
analogy.
Yeah, I really need help.
You're like a beaver caught in a trap at that point.
It's true. I just can't get it. I can't really get it done, right? And then the fun thing is that we turn it over and say, well, how fast is this thing? What time signature is it in? What, like, does it need an organ or does it need accordion or does it need a 12-string electric guitar with the reverb turned up but the volume on 2 and it hiding in the back of the mix or whatever, right? Because music is so weird. You know, it's you hear music, but you also kind of feel music in a weird way, right? And we're great fans of the legendary producer Daniel Lanois, who's a Canadian.
Oh yeah.
And Daniel Lanois, all his records are outstanding, but he's also the guy behind U2. I made 4 records for U2 at least. He made some just gorgeous. He made an unbelievable record for Willie Nelson, an unbelievable record for Emmylou Harris. And Daniel Lanois is now in his 70s or whatever, but we have always liked his orchestration and his approach to production and things, and we've tried to use his approaches into our work too. And part of that is the music has kind of like muscle and like girth to the whole thing, right? It feels like a big, delicious sort of. Like sort of spaghetti bolognese or something that's deeply rich. The music is deeply rich like that. We want it to feel sort of immense, you know, in a strange way. Even though there are violins and banjos involved, it's not a string band really anymore, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, people say, "Oh, you're a bluegrass band," and you say, "Well, we have all been in bluegrass bands, but we're not really a bluegrass band anymore."
Yeah.
Just because those instruments are in there doesn't mean
exactly.
I was saying that to Jordy too about your sound before, because I was saying like it definitely has that like, you know, Canadiana type vibe to it for sure.
People say that,
yeah, and it's got like traditional instruments, so there's that familiarity with it right away when you when you hear it. But then when you keep listening, there is these moments where it is just thick and like it's everything's just, especially in Canada towards the end when you guys are rocking out. And I was like, is this a different band? Like, I got to check, right? Like,
yeah, that's right.
It's thick.
We've all been fans of rock and roll music.
That's a thick sauce at the end of that.
Thank you very much. That's a
thick bolognese.
That's
sauce.
very nice of you to say that, because that's in a way what we were going for.
Even.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to we wanted to make sure that we could use kind of. I mean, I remember hearing Mike Campbell, who played guitar for Tom Petty. For his whole life, like they grew up together in Florida, or at least met when they were really, really, really young in Florida, but before Tom Petty came to California and all those things. This would be in the 70s, of course, and Mike Campbell said they had a lot of guitars in the studio and they owned a lot of guitars between Mike Campbell and Tom Petty and all the guys or whatever, but they looked at all the different guitars like paintbrushes. He said, like, we are not overly fascinated with the instruments themselves, but more the tones that they produce, and we use them like paintbrushes. And so we need to have a lot of paintbrushes around, like the little tiny thready ones, but then we need the one you'd use to paint the fence too, right? And
Petty had some great tones.
He did, amazing tones, and they were really toned,
stuff.
And so we have those kinds of tools too, and we try to use them to fill the mix out. And again, a lot of that goes back to Daniel Lanois too. We try to figure out, well, what on earth is going on in there? Like, what are you doing in there? Why does that music sound that way? Right?
Yeah.
And you know, writing the song is one thing, the lyrics and the melody and writing it out on a piece of paper and singing it like I would sing it to you, that's one thing. But when you try to get into like make the music feel sort of like gorgeous, if you will, or I don't really want to say epic. That's not quite the right word, but just
I love that word.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a little bit overused sometimes because I don't like. Not everything can be Lawrence of Arabia or Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's not possible, right? So I sometimes things can be overdone, and we don't want to be that person either. But so there's a point where there's enough paint on the canvas and it's time to stop, right? So
yeah, and I think you guys do a great job of that with teasing those little aspects of it too, right?
We try.
Yeah. And I honestly love it's Saturn and Mars, not Mars and Saturn.
Yeah,
right?
Saturn and Mars. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's been a very successful song.
I just love it's just so beautiful, like the chords together and everything.
Thanks you so much. Yeah, well, my mom.
My favorite song too.
Oh yeah. Oh cool. Nice. Yeah.
Because I grew up in Calgary, but my grandparents lived on Vancouver Island, and we would get sent, not sent, but they in those days, this was in the late 70s, but and maybe early 80s, and you could. Kids could fly on the airplane like unaccompanied, alone, and they would. But Air Canada, I guess, in the day would sort of take care of you, like chaperone you, and so we would fly from Calgary. My sister and I, as tiny kids, we would get on the plane to Victoria, and then my grandmother would pick us up on the other side, and then we would play. Or they had a sailboat. They had a sailboat that they kept near Duncan, and we would go sailing. My sister and I, and my grandparents, and the tune is kind of about that, like Saturn and Mars is sort of about that experience as a kid, and it had a real effect on me because Vancouver Island and Calgary are very different, right? And just geographically, the smell of the air is very different, and it had a real effect on me as a kid, for sure. I was really lucky to have had that exposure to the ocean when I was young.
Yeah. I know, I bet.
Yeah, and Saturn was kind of like that. A friend of mine said, it's such a weird song. Like, the verses are all about your childhood and your grandparents and stuff, but then the chorus is about the solar system. Like, what on earth? And I said, well, yeah, I can't explain it.
It's a cool dichotomy, man.
I guess, yeah. What I was trying to
out.
get at is I think there's a Aristotle quote or something about how you can never put your foot in the same river twice because it's like different water.
Right.
Water's gone by, and it's so you... And I was trying to get at the kind of ephemeral nature of our lives already, because the chorus is what we call forever is not the same for the river, not the same for the stars, or Saturn and Mars.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I remember when I first brought it in, I said to the guys in the band, I said, yeah, it's called Same for the Stars. And Hugh, who plays violin, and Hugh's like my dearest friend. I'll go to the grave with him. He said, oh man, it's not called Same for the Stars. It's called Saturn and Mars. That's got to be the name of the song. and it has been ever since.
Wise man.
Yeah. On the new record, there's a song called Spanish Banks, which I had a really interesting melody that I wrote sitting in a chair one day, and I kind of liked that. But the chord structure is very simple. It's just a simple 1-4-5, like a, like if it's in the key of C, it's just C, F, and G, right? Or D, G, and A, or G, C, and D. It's just a simple 1-4-5 chord structure, and but I got it through the band grinder because I thought the song was was sort of lighthearted and had kind of a gurgling nature to it, and I thought this could be a song about a day at the beach. And then I thought, well, where's a great beach? And I thought Spanish Banks is a terrific beach, right? A gorgeous beach, a special thing, a well-known place.
I actually wrote a song about it too.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Jericho
fabulous.
Beach, yeah.
Oh man, that's terrific. Yeah, and I thought that's a good example of where the subject matter carried the day, right? And then nobody said, "Hey, that's just a silly 1-4-5."
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah, I know it is musically pretty simple, but the lyric kind of carries the day." And actually, it was Deborah Holland, our producer. She told me afterwards. She said, "I wasn't too sure about that song. I was thinking that maybe wouldn't make the cut."
Yeah.
But then Brad and Hugh got working on it, and they came up with a lot of really interesting violin and mandolin interplay on it, and then that kind of carried the day through. And then vocally, it's kind of cool. And then there's a spot in the middle of the song where the there's like a quiet part in the middle where Mark and I just sing together, sing the chorus together, I guess. And it's not very long. It's 2 minutes and, I don't know, 20 seconds or something. So
Right. Yeah.
I was going to say, even those kind of simpler chording songs, you can add a lot of flavor to those, man.
Hey, you can.
You can add
like,
as much syrup to that pancake as you want.
Totally. Like King of the Road and tunes like that will live forever are 1-4-5 songs, right?
Yeah.
Like there's so
Into
many
the
songs.
Great wide open,
Totally.
Yeah.
Like Wheat Kings is a 1-4-5, right? So I don't want to throw rocks at those songs because the thing with simple songs, musically simple songs, is the lyrics need to be amazing.
Yeah.
The lyrics have to be amazing, and which is a challenge too. Yeah. I mean, this songwriting thing, like I'm sure that's what you guys are interested in, and what maybe people that will listen to this are interested in, is that it's a very fun thing to get engaged in. Sometimes people come up to me and say, "Oh, I'm thinking about writing my first song." I said, "Do it.
Yeah.
My God's sake, do it. Don't be shy about it." And you know, you don't have to write Alleluia or whatever. Like, don't set the bar that high. The problem is that we listen to our heroes, and our heroes are among the best songwriters that you'll ever run into. But they're also practiced and deeply skilled, and they worked at it for many years, maybe decades, right? So you can't really listen to Paul Simon and go, "Well, I'll never be that good, so I better not bother." Well,
that was always my thing. I would look at like my favorite songwriter is David Gray. I talk about it all the time.
Sure, yeah.
I absolutely love his lyrics, especially, and like he's kind of the main reason I actually started writing. And like my lyrics, like I do pride myself a lot on my lyrics, but even still, when I compare mine to his, I'd be like, oh well, and even like I like my voice and my genre, right? Like it's not in the same category as him. So then it's like Babylon, yeah, like that. But like for me, it like bothered me because I thought like someone who's a fan of David Gray might not necessarily be a fan of me, kind of thing, right? It's like I wanted to be just like him. I wanted to, you know, kind of click into that same niche that he did. But then I had to realize, well, no, like I have my own soul, I have my own heart in music.
True.
And it's okay that it's different than his, right?
That's completely okay. In fact, I think the most important thing is to try to figure out who you are. Try to find yourself as soon as you can. And I say it sometimes that, what's my line? Audiences like dogs and bees can smell fear, right? So you really need to be yourself, right? Because the listener will detect right away that it's not authentic.
Totally.
And I really am really aware of that with songcraft. I really try to be myself, because I think if you try to be somebody you're not, well, it won't really come across, right? It'll sound like you're trying to be some other person, and then I think the listener wants to know, like, who are you and what are your thoughts, even if you're writing in the third person, right? You know, then I think that's okay to have. You know, I wrote a tune. There's a tune on there on the record called "In This Town." I think we talked about it earlier, but I had it in my mind about people that live in a small town, and essentially like their work evaporates in a small town. Like the factory that everybody worked at in the town closes or something, and then everybody's out of work, and because the factory made some esoteric thing like a aircraft parts or something, just as an example. Well, now nobody knows how to make anything else except aircraft parts, and that factory's not here anymore, right? And just the kind of, and then it's very hard to move anywhere because you're broke and you can't get to the next town. And when you get to the town, well, that factory makes like, you know, I don't know, baby clothes or something, and you don't know how to do that, right? And I thought a lot about the sort of desperation of life in small towns, and that's where kind of "In This Town" came from. And I carried that around for a couple of years, like trying to figure out how to write that. And when I got "In This Town," I thought, oh, okay, finally I got that out of my head.
What's the worst job you've ever had?
I can do that one. I answered this question quite recently.
Sorry.
No. It was over dinner with the
The other night.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I had a job right after I finished school. I had a friend who worked at an advertising agency, and he was very young too. But the advertising agency, this was in Calgary, they had a account managing Subway, the sandwich shop, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things he did, he was very young, but one of his things, I guess, in his job was to take around this mascot costume, the Subway mascot costume, to like openings. It was like openings of new Subway stores, you know, or whatever, in malls and stuff like that. And then also go to like the Calgary Stampeders games and these sorts of things. And the Subman costume thing was this gigantic kind of inflatable rubber thing that like was way taller than you, and you kind of got inside this thing, and then you turned on this fan that was in the costume with you, and it would like inflate around you. And
it was a giant sandwich?
Yeah, I was in the, I remember it was like a gigantic sandwich with like lettuce and, you know, ham, inflatable ham sticking out the side of the sandwich. Yeah. Yeah, and I remember I was in the Santa Claus parade walking in the costume in Fort Macleod, Alberta. I remember that in December. And then I remember I played in a charity thing for the Boys and Girls Club, but it was like a mascots versus the Calgary Flames hockey game.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
it was at the Max Bell Arena in Calgary, and I remember I had to wear this costume and then skate around on the. And I remember I couldn't put my hands together because the costume was so big. I couldn't. Like, there's no way I could clap, for instance, so I could only hold the hockey stick with one hand. And I remember I body checked Theron Fleury once on
Oh,
that.
no way.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty good. And his career, like, started to really go south after that. Yeah, I couldn't be sure exactly if I hit him because the costume was so big, but it felt like I hit him.
I actually want to read his biography now and see if that story's in there. That'd be
so
pretty
that's
funny.
my worst job, Jordy. Yeah, it was
Okay.
Subman.
Subman.
But Subman in the day, this
Subman.
dates me a little bit, but Subman paid $12 an hour, which was like double the minimum wage at the time.
I gotta
And
say,
so,
that's huge.
like, me and all my friends did a turn as Subman.
That's sick. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
great.
You get to skate around with the hockey stick too. That's
Yeah, and I skied with the costume on once and stuff. You know, there was a
Wow.
period there for a few months where I got the call.
This sounds like the greatest job ever.
Oh yeah. I don't know.
Got to meet Theron Fleury.
No,
as you
no, I
knocked
never
down?
met him. I just body checked
Well,
him.
yeah.
Body
Close
check
enough.
In a sandwich costume. That's awesome.
Well, I think it's about that time. If you'd like to play us a song.
Oh, sure, I'd be
Yeah?
happy to do that. Yep.
Okay, cool. Well, I just want to make sure I give that shout out to check out Headlong Hearts. You guys are playing shows as well still.
Yeah, we have a bunch of things to play through the summer. Actually, we have some gigs in August even and things. But you can
Nice, yeah.
all that stuff is on the headlonghearts.com.
Yeah,
you can
go to
get all
Headlong.
that information there and yeah, and I guess our Instagram is just whatever Headlong Hearts, and
Yeah.
we try to keep it current and talk a bit about what we're up to and things. And yeah, we have some nice things to play this summer. We have a bunch of private stuff. We have a really nice gig in August up in North Van for North Van Recreation and Culture, a big street festival in Edgemont
cool.
Village on a Friday night.
Yeah.
And we have some things to play in the Gulf Islands this summer, and yeah, there should be few little festivals and things that show up. So
Sweet. All right, Matt's going to go ahead and play an original song for us. Thank you again, Matt.
pleasure.
Yeah,
See you
thank
later.
you, Matt. Nice
Peace.
to meet you guys.
It's true, things ain't been what they used to be. Time clock punches one shift instead of three. Our fate was sealed on the factory door, and a cold glass table far away, 48th floor. It's all we know how to do in this town. Work is the glue in this town. I don't know about you, but I don't think I can stay. Like my grandfather said, in this town you're better off dead than in this town. I'm using my head and I'm moving away. Y'all should have known that it would come to this. How could it have been so hard to miss? Soon I'll turn away from this machine. It's all I've known since I turned 17. It's all we know how to do in this town. Work is the glue in this town. I don't know about you, but I don't think I can stay. Me, I'm young enough if I can begin to find another place and start again. It's all we know how to do in this town. Work is the glue in this town. I don't know about you, but I don't think I can stay. Like my grandfather said, in this town you're better off dead than in this town. I'm using my head and I'm moving away. I'm using my head and I'm moving away.
Poets Garden podcast is produced and recorded by me, James Donnelly, at the Poets Garden Studio in Mission, BC. You can subscribe and rate us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and almost everywhere else. You can also find us on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. To avoid potential legal action, the Poets Garden podcast is not sponsored by the Penny Coffee Shop yet. So next time you're in Mission, stop by the Penny for a coffee or a gluten-free brownie and say you heard about them on the Poets Garden podcast. Thank you for listening.